Hi everybody, welcome to our YouTube channel. The weather has changed, it's winter. It's a little colder out here now, but we're still working our way through the 32 sword form. We're going to be getting some snow here in a couple of days, so maybe as we film some of these, we'll have some snow on the ground to practice with. But we're working our way through the 32 sword form. We are now on the second half. We're on movement 17. Rhino gazes at the moon. It's also referred to as shoot the flying geese, or turn, advance, and flip the sword over. So multiple names for that. That's not important. Rhino gazes at the moon is the way I learned that, so that's what I'll use on here. But it is an overhead movement, so shoot the flying geese would probably be just as good. So follow along here. We'll demonstrate the move, and then we'll go into explaining some of the features with this. Thanks. So let's break the movement down and go through this. So we've ended the end of the second sequence here, and we have scooped the moon from the bottom of the sea. We are now going to turn our direction. We're going to go back 180 degrees, and then we're going to settle back 135 degrees. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to move another 45 degrees to our right as far as that goes. So in this movement, we've swung up and under. What we're going to do is we're going to pull the sword back, join the sword hands, close the right foot, shift the weight over, come into a transition stance, and then step forward and overhead strike with the sword. This is an overhead cut. We're then going to pull back, shift the foot in, push down with the right hand, and set out the left foot in an empty stance. And so this movement here is kind of like single whip with this. It's an on guard or a striking forward movement. The sword is pointed forward at an angle, and you are 45 degrees off your core center with this. So a couple of important parts with this. As we've cut up through here, we're going to turn, so we pull the sword back, join here, close the right foot. So let's call that the first part of the movement. And then we're going to shift the weight back here as we come in, and then step forward and strike. So this movement here is an overhead cut forward, and then we pull the sword back, shift our foot in, and set down. This movement here is a block. You deflect off to the side and push down so that you can strike forward with the hand. Again, this is much like single whip. So if you think of single whip here with this strike, this movement is here with this strike. So from the side, just so you get the perspective, we'll do the reverse angle, in, cut, set. Some common mistakes with this, because you know you're going backwards in the direction. If you're stable and you've got your stance with a little bit of gap here, it's fine. You're pulling back with this. What we'll see a lot of times is people want to use the arm. And we're using our waist to do most of the turning and our wrist to do the rest. So it's not an arm movement. So what you'll see people trying to do is this. Chop it over. It's not an overhead tomahawk type of chop with this. That's not what we're looking for. We're pulling it back, turning in, and then flicking. So if you know that movement that we have within the Qigong form, we're flicking the sword out. It is more of a poke cut than it is a slice down overhead. So this takes shoulder movement here. We don't want that. We just want to pull the sword back, turn it, and flick it. The other mistakes that we'll see with this is just moving the sword down, right? This sword has got to come out slightly and then push down as you set your empty stance on here. So it's not just push it down. Again, this is too much arm movement. This is all shoulder here. We're just pulling it back, turning, and pressing down slightly, pushing down. The blade must be at a 45-degree angle. If you look at here, it is pushing down like this. This is the block here. If you just lay the sword down or you just push it out to the side, this is all arm. We're just setting it down and sealing. And so it seals the opponent's weapon here and pushes out. So you have a slight angle here because your arm is going to be out to the side. The tip needs to point forward. Again, we're in this 45-degree off center, but if you want to see what it looks like from the front, it's here. So you're in a nice empty stance, which means all the weight is off your front left foot. You strike forward down the center line, and the tip points forward to the center line as that goes. So again, looking at it, and I'll adjust the angle so that the camera ends up seeing the end result here. So from here, pull it back, turn, set, flick out, and down. And there's your empty stance, and you're pointing forward with that. Okay. Other common mistakes we see with this, because of the transition here, you're going from mountain climbing, closing, coming in to mountain climbing. You need to open your hips and step wide so that there's distance between there. You're not in a line here, or even a good mountain climbing stance here, turning and then getting in a straight line here, so that there's, you know, a straight line like this, so that there's no gap between. Mountain climbing stance is here. You want a little bit of gap between so you can see between there. It gives you some stability side to side. So as that cut comes back through here and we flick it forward, you need to be able to see between the legs here and be in a nice stable stance. Flick, flick, and then turn out and press down. So the application with this move is you've cut in one direction, you're turning and you're striking in the other direction. This flick cut here is a stab more than a downward chop. So it's a cut out, but the opponent steps back, comes around, you're turning out and pushing down with the weapon. So there's a parry here that has to push the sword down or push the spear down and then move it out of the way so that you can strike forward. So you want to be able to see that transition as you cut here, coming out to the side and pushing down to then strike forward with this movement. And that'll set you up for the next movement after that. So because this is the start of the third sequence, the ending sequence of the move before here is we're coming up under and we're doing here, we're scooping the moon from the bottom of the sea. We transition then into rhinoceros gazes at the moon, come back and cut down. And then we went 45 degrees here. We're going to come back online into the movement here. White ape presents the fruit. That's the next video, but you see how the transition works between the movements. Here and here. That's your transition through those particular movements. So follow along with me. I'll do this 5 times. We'll turn the angle. We'll do it 5 times in the other direction just so that you see some of the nuances with this, and you can follow along and go through the practice yourself with this particular movement. So we'll start from here. We're in a good right mountain climbing stance on the line and begin. Now let's do it at this angle so that you'll see the straightaway portion of this. I'll just do this one. I'll do this one 5 times too. Thanks for watching.